median, right? And this is what we talked about yesterday with our, with our wonderful little triangles here that we cut out. A median goes from a vertex to a midpoint on the other side, right? So the vertex to a midpoint of the other side. So a median is a segment that joins together a vertex to the midpoint of the other side. And what does midpoint mean?
Middle.
You're in the middle. If I'm going to the middle, what does that mean about the two pieces that would then be left over?
They're equal.
They'd be equal. They'd be exactly the same. Good. All right. Now, a centroid is the point where all three of the medians intersect. And so we talked about that yesterday. If we looked at our pictures of our triangles, the median was that point where all three of those lines crossed over each other, intersected, right? And it was where if you took your triangle and you balanced it, it would balance over in this center point. You also could, if you took the triangle and, oh, it's not going to work now, spin it, it spins around that center point, right? That's called the centroid. It's in the middle. In my picture here, we have three medians. The medians are the lines on the inside that cross over each other. So the lines on the inside that cross over each other. Who can give me the name of one of the medians? E's a point. I want a whole segment, so I need two letters. DC is one. Good. Here's one median, DC. What's another median in that picture? AE. Or EA, doesn't matter. And then what's the last median in that picture? BF. Good. Okay, so the medians are those parts that cross over each other. And then the centroid is the point where they meet and they intersect. So what point do they all intersect at? P. So P is my centroid. Okay, now here are the special properties of medians that we just went over there in the warm-up question. If you multiply the small piece times 2, you get the larger piece of the segment, or the larger piece of the median. So let's, for example, look at this segment right here, AE. Which piece is the smaller piece of that segment, AP or PE? Which one's the smaller piece? PE is the smaller piece. So if I multiply PE times 2, I should get the longer segment. What's the longer segment of that median? AP. So if I multiply this orange piece times 2, I should get this blue piece right here. So let's pretend that this orange piece was 5. What would my blue piece be? Multiplies by 2. What would it be? It would be 10. Good. Now, what if I went the other way? What if I gave you AP? What would you have to do to get this smaller piece? You would divide it by 2. Good. So you can either take the small piece, so this is the small piece, multiply it times 2 to get your large piece, or you can take the large piece and divide it by 2, and that should equal your small piece, which would be PE. So you can go either way, doesn't matter. If I give you the small piece, multiply it by 2. If I give you the large piece, divide it by 2. Okay, in total, I have, this is one piece right here. And this one over here, the 10 is worth 2 5 pieces. Does that make sense? So this is one 5 piece. This over here, I can divide it up into 2 5 pieces, right? So this is worth double of this. How many pieces do I have in total then if this is worth 1 piece and this is worth 2 pieces? How many pieces would it? So this is one piece right here, PE. Okay. This piece over here, AP, is worth 2 of these. So I've got 2 pieces here and 1 piece here. How many pieces is that in total? 3 pieces in total. Three pieces in total. So you've got 1 small piece and the big piece is worth 2 small pieces. Huh? You would add the numbers together. That would be 15, yes. So this is like saying this is worth 1 piece, that's 5. This piece over here is worth, so here's 1 piece. This one's worth a second piece and a third piece, right? This is 5 and 5. So in total you have 5, 10, 15 in total, but this is 1, 2, 3 pieces. Does that make sense? So each piece should be exactly the same. This one just has more pieces.
Is it ever going to be like, gonna have like different pieces?
Nope, one will always have, the small one is always worth 1 piece. The big one is always worth 2 pieces. Every time. No matter what. Good question. Very good question. All right, so let's do an example here. Oh, the other part is this. What do all these tick marks over here mean on the outside? How come these two both have 1 tick mark? They're equal, yeah, because D right here, this is the midpoint. D is a midpoint, so it cuts this segment in half. E is a midpoint. What does that mean about these 2 pieces? They're equal again. F is a midpoint. What does that mean about these 2 pieces? They're equal again. Yes, so if it's on the outside, the 2 pieces are the same. The inside is where you've got a small piece and a large piece. Okay, so let's take a look at our first problem here. Number 1. If P is the centroid, so that means it's right in the middle there, and I give you a couple of these side lengths, I want you to find the missing side lengths over here. Okay, so P is in the center. So we're just going to mark each one of these numbers in our picture. First things it gives me is JK. So find JK on your picture. That's on the left, on the outside. The whole thing is 22. Whole thing is 22. Okay, now, if it's on the outside, what does that mean about these 2 pieces that make it up? They're equal. They're the same. So this piece KM is the same as this piece MJ. Well, if the whole thing is 22, what would each piece be? 11, right? 11 plus 11 gives me 22. So this piece is 11. This piece is 11. I'm going to cross that off because I used it. And then I'm going to look at the question. Does any of the questions ask me for KM? Over here? Yeah, the first one. First one. So I put 11 there. Does anyone ask me for MJ? Or JM? Nope. Okay, so I'm done there. Now I can go on to the next one. KN is 13. So come to the picture, find KN. Where is that? On the outside or the inside? Outside. Now, KN is 13. That is just one part of the outside. Which one, what other one has to be exactly the same? Which one is the same as KN? Which one? No, not quite. Look back at your picture here. Right? These 2 are the same, these 2 are the same, and these 2 are the same. Look back at your picture now. Which one would be the same as this one? NL, right next to it. This one's also 13. Good. Now I'm going to put that over here in NL. And I'm going to cross it off because I've used it. Last one it gives me is OL is 18. Here's OL is 18. Which one has to be the same as that one? JO is also 18. Right, so it's just midpoints. Midpoints means everything's right in the middle, everything's the same. Now, the last two, though, that are left open is KL and JL. Let's look for KL. That is, from K to L, is this whole segment is KL. How am I going to figure that out? Add what? Add 13 and 13. What is 13 plus 13? 26. You figured out that side. Last one is JL, which is this whole thing here. How am I going to figure out that whole thing? Add 18 and 18, which is what? 36.
Wait, so you only add like the numbers that are on the outside, not on the inside?
Well, because for this particular problem, I didn't give you any numbers on the inside. I only gave you pieces on the outside.
So if there is a piece on the inside, you would add it?
Then I would have to add them, yes. But because I don't have anything on the inside yet, I'm just adding together like the outside. It's almost like the perimeter of the triangle. Good question. All right, do you have any questions there so far? Any other ones? Okay, now that was the only one that has outside. Now we're going to go start looking at the inside of the triangle. So remember, on the inside, you take the small piece, multiply it by 2, and that will give you the large piece. Or take the large piece, divide it by 2, and that will give you the small piece. So let's take a look at number 2. This is why we've got our 2 colors now. I'm going to pick one color to be my short color and one color to be the long color. So one for the short and one for the long. You've got a short piece and a long piece. So I'm going to do orange as my short piece. I'm going to do blue as my long. So this is why you have 2 highlighters. You're just going to highlight the pieces with me. One for short, one for long. Okay. If Z is the centroid, find each missing measure given these 3. Okay, so here's the first thing that it gives me. TZ is 60. TZ is 60. Now, is TZ inside or outside of your triangle? It's inside your triangle. Is TZ the long piece or the short piece of? It's the long piece. TZ is the long piece. So I'm going to put, oops, use this wrong. 60. That's my long piece. Maybe you just highlight it and write it with pencil. TZ is my long piece. So how do I figure out what the short piece is that goes along with it? What would I have to do to that 60?
Divided by 2.
Divide it by 2. What is 60 divided by 2?
30.
30. So you've just figured out ZY is 30.
That's the short. ZY is short, right?
ZY is the short one, right? So you did 60 divided by 2. That's what I did. Okay. I've used this first one, so I'm going to cross it off. XZ is 28. Now look at XZ. It's right here. Is that the short piece or the long piece of this median?
Short.
That's the short piece. XZ is 28. All right. So to find the long piece, ZV, what am I going to do? Multiply by 2. You got the short piece, you're going to multiply it times 2. So I'm going to do 28 times 2. What is 28 times 2? 56, right? So now I've got this piece is 56. And I know it's really small. I do apologize. Your homework tomorrow will be much bigger. So sorry about that. Okay.
That's 66.
56.
Oh,
28, 28, 8 is 16, 2, 2, 4, 1 is 5, yeah. Okay. WZ is 25. WZ, is that the short piece or the long piece of that segment? That's the short piece, 25. So how do I find the long piece, ZU? Multiply it by what? 2. So you do 25 times 2, which gives you what? 50. Very nice. 50. Okay, good. So now you have all of the pieces on the interior. You got all the small pieces, you've got all the long pieces. The last part it asks you for is some whole segments here. So TY, look at T, whoops, TY is this whole thing, the blue and the orange put together. What would be that whole length? So if Miss Mass is standing here, she walks 60 feet, and then she walks 30 feet. How many feet in total did I walk? Not 190. I walked 60 feet, and then I walked 30 feet. How many feet did I walk in total? 90 feet. So I did 60 plus 30. Okay, last one. XV is this whole thing. So Miss Tommaso walked 28 feet, and then she walked 56 feet. What do I have to do? Add them together, 28 and 56. What is 28 and 56?
84.
84. Good, now you've got your whole thing. So if I give you the small piece, you multiply by 2. If I give you the big piece, you divide by 2. That's it. That's it. All right, can you try number 3? It's exactly the same. It's interior ones only. Try number 3, and then we'll check it together. And then when you're done, put your pencil down. So now you're ready to check. All right, are we ready?
No, we just started.
No. Give you another minute. Okay, let's check your work. Going straight down the list, should be GD equals 4,
Yep.
AD equals 12,
Yep.
CG equals 14, GE equals 10, and BE equals 15. How'd you do?
I'm pretty sure none of I got that.
Pretty sure none of you got those?
No,
I got them like, but I ain't even get to finish like.
That's okay. That's okay. It's all right. Because I want to get to number 4, which is the hardest one on the paper. So I want to make sure I do that. I know, right? Number 4 is the hardest one. As long as we can get through number 4, I'm happy.
I know for the hardest one.
You'll bet see. And it's not even hard. So that's what I'm saying. It's great. All right, number 4. If X is the centroid of RST, so it's in the middle, right? That's your, and the others are medians. Find each missing measure given the ones that are there. Okay, so let's take a look. Now, first thing I give you is TU is 27. Now, take a look at TU.
Cheat alone.
T to U. Is that the big piece, the small piece, or the whole thing? It's the whole thing. Why would you divide by 3? Explain your thinking there, Enrique. Why did you think that? Why would it be divided by 3, though? You're adding the small piece, essentially, so here's what it means, right? If I were to give you, I'll do it over here, a little bit of space. If I were to say, okay, the whole segment is 30, right? Let's say the whole segment's 30. Half of it would be 15, right? That means the big piece is 15. What would the small piece have to be, though?
15.
Or no, sorry, the big piece is not 15, right? Because 15 would be halfway, right? But I want to break it up into 3 pieces, right? Because the small piece is worth 1, and the big piece is worth 2. So I want it essentially in 3 equal pieces because, think about it this way, right? 10, 10, 10, right? So this small piece would be worth 10. The big piece would be worth 10 and 10, which is 20, right? So the small piece is worth 1, it's 10. Big piece is worth double that, which is 20, and in total, the whole thing's 30. So what I'm going to do, if you're given the whole thing, you're going to divide by 3. That will give you the small piece. And then if you take that small piece, add it together to itself, that's going to give you the big piece. So let's try that. I'm telling you the whole thing from T to U. I'm going to go like this. From T to U is 27. Okay. What's the big piece of that? T to X or X to U?
Yeah.
T to X. So this is worth 2 of the pieces. This is worth just 1 piece. So what would 1 piece be worth? Divide it by 3. What would 1 piece be worth? 9. So this small piece right here, U to X, is worth 9. What does that mean the big piece is worth, X to T? 9 and 9, which is 18. Good. So your small piece is worth 9, and your large piece is worth 18. So U to X is worth 9. T to X is worth 18. Okay, that's the first one right there. SW is worth 18. Go from S to W. Is that the whole thing or is that the smaller big piece? S to W. Is that the whole thing, the small piece, or the big piece? Whole thing again. So S to W. X is over here. Which one's the big piece from S to W? S to X is the big piece, so it's worth 2. X to W is worth just one of the pieces. The whole thing is worth 18. So what am I going to do with that 18? Divide it by 3. What's 18 divided by 3? 6. So which piece is worth 6? W to X or X to S? W to X is worth 6. It's your small one. What is your large one, X to S, worth? 6 and 6, which gives you 12. So W to X is 6. S to X is 12. Guess what? The last one is the same thing because.
But when we doing it, how we supposed to know if it's like the whole thing?
So you have to look at what's given to you right here. So RV is 21. Look at the picture. Is RV the whole thing, the big piece, or the small piece? It's the whole thing. So I'm going to take RV and do what with it? Divide it by what? 3. If you divide it by 3, you get what? 21 divided by 3.
7. But I'm saying, like, how do you supposed to know, like, when you have to do the whole thing?
Or you're talking about when you have to divide it, or if you have to multiply it? Is that what you're asking?
Because for number 3, number 1, number 2, we did not do that. You know what I'm saying? How are we supposed to know when we're supposed to do that?
Right. So in a second, we're going to finish this, and I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet. We're going to write it down. That's how you're going to know. All right. 21 divided by 3 gives you 7. That means the small piece is 7. So is XV 7 or is RX 7? Which one's the small piece? V to X. So this one's 7, which means R to X has to be what? 14. It's double that. And the question only asks you for RX. So, like Daniel said, he's going, how do you know which one to do when? We're going to write ourselves a little cheat sheet so we're not going to forget it. Okay? So, over here we have a little bit of space. We're going to write a little cheat sheet. Okay, number 1, there's 3 different scenarios. Okay, scenario 1, I give you the small piece. Okay, so if you're given the small piece, what should you do if you're given the small piece? Multiply by what? 2. So if you're given the small piece, you're going to multiply by 2, and that gives you the big piece. That's scenario 1. I give you the small piece. Scenario 2 is I give you the big piece. I just really like this. Okay. So scenario 1, I give you the small piece, you multiply by 2. If I give you the big piece, what should you do? You should divide by 2. You're going to divide by 2, and that gives you the small piece. Last scenario is I give you the whole thing. And if I give you the whole thing, what should you do?
Well, what do you mean get the whole thing?
So I can either give you, right, like in this picture here, I could either give you the smaller part of the median, the larger part of the median, or I could tell you that the whole thing is 27. So you've got a small piece of the median, you've got a big piece of the median, and then you have the whole thing, which is both the small and the big piece put together.
So basically, like, if there's a single digit number.
So you can't go by that. You have to go by what's in the picture. So in the picture, if I give you, so a median, the whole thing is from a vertex all the way across to the other side to a midpoint. If I give you that whole thing, that's the full median, that's the whole, that's divided by 3. If it goes to the center in some way, that means it's either the big piece or the small piece. Does that make sense? So if I give you this letter in the middle, that means it's either the big piece or the small piece. If I don't give you this letter, like RV does not have that letter X in it, that means it's the whole thing. So if I stop at the middle, it's either the big piece or the small piece. If I don't stop at the middle, then it's the whole thing.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Okay, so if it doesn't have that middle letter in it somewhere, then it's not that middle piece, right? Because RV doesn't have the middle letter X. That means it's the whole
You should have
thing.
been said that. Like, you just.
I'm
beat around the
sorry.
bush and
I'm
it's fine.
sorry. Okay. So last scenario. So if you're given the small piece, multiply by 2. Given the big piece, divide by 2. If you're given the whole, right? So that means from the start to the end does not include the centroid, right? From the start to the whole, start to the end, you should do what? Divide by
3.
3. And that will give you the small piece. Okay, so this is kind of like your little cheat sheet. Tells you how to set up each equation. All right. Now, what time is this period over? 56. Okay, we have enough time. I want you to do number 5 right now. We're going to check it at the end of the class. Your homework tonight's going to be 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to check it tomorrow. I'm going to give you a grade for it. Okay, do 5 right now. We'll check number 5 with the last 3 minutes here. Okay, so you've got about 4 minutes to do it. We'll check it at the last 2 minutes here. Number 5, give it a go. Oops. You agree? All right, let's check it. 34, 17, and 20. 40, 38, 19. How'd we do? So the only hard part really is trying to determine if I gave you the big part, the small part, or the whole thing. That's the hard part. Once you know which one it is, the rest should be easy. All right, I'm going to check numbers 6 through 9 tomorrow in class. So take a moment, get those done tonight. We'll check them tomorrow.
6 through 9.
6 through 9. Try them all. And then we'll check them tomorrow. We'll see how you did.